Good morning, friends. Thank you for tuning in for today's session of Great Life. We hope you get inspired. Let's get started. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "You must do the thing you think you cannot do." These words resonate with a timeless truth. To achieve the extraordinary, you must first overcome the mental barriers that tell you something is impossible. Whether it's a goal you've long considered unattainable or a fear that keeps you paralyzed, conquering the belief that you can't do something is the first step toward actually doing it. Roosevelt was no stranger to adversity. As First Lady during some of the most challenging times in U.S. history, she championed human rights, women's rights, and civil rights, and she did so while facing personal insecurities and public scrutiny. Her life is a testament to the power of overcoming self-doubt. Today, I want to talk about taming the thoughts that hold us back. The thoughts that convince us that we're not good enough, not strong enough, or not capable enough. The things we think we cannot do are often the things that define our greatest opportunities for growth and fulfillment. To achieve the life we want, we must learn to tame our thoughts, confront our fears, and take action despite doubt. Let me start with a story. There was a time in my life when I faced a challenge that felt insurmountable. I remember staring at the task ahead of me, convinced that there was no way I could succeed. Fear gripped me, and self-doubt whispered in my ear, "This is too much for you. You're not ready." I hesitated, procrastinated, and even considered walking away. But in the end, I didn't. I decided to take that first small step, and that step led to another, and then another. To my surprise, the task that seemed impossible at first began to feel manageable. I learned that the barrier was not the task itself, but the limiting belief that I couldn't do it. We all have moments like that. We all face situations where the fear of failure or inadequacy overwhelms us. But the truth is, the only way to grow is to face those fears head-on. This speech is about understanding how fear and self-doubt can control our lives and, more importantly, how we can reclaim that control by taming our thoughts. Understanding fear and self-doubt. The nature of fear. Fear is one of the most primal emotions we experience as humans. It is deeply rooted in our biology and has evolved as a survival mechanism. In ancient times, fear kept our ancestors safe from predators and natural threats. Today, however, fear often manifests in less tangible forms: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown. These fears are not life-threatening, but they can feel just as powerful as if they were. Fear triggers a response in our brain known as fight or flight. When we perceive a threat, real or imagined, our brain releases stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol, which prepare us to either confront the danger or flee from it. This response is automatic, and while it is useful in life-threatening situations, it can be debilitating when the perceived threat is something as ordinary as giving a presentation, starting a new business, or pursuing a personal goal. Fear is often accompanied by self-doubt. When we doubt ourselves, we become our own worst enemies. Instead of focusing on our abilities and potential, we dwell on our shortcomings. Self-doubt feeds into a cycle of inaction. We fear failure, so we don't try, and because we don't try, we never succeed, which only reinforces our doubts. Psychological barriers and limiting beliefs. At the root of self-doubt are limiting beliefs, those deeply ingrained thoughts that tell us we're not capable of achieving certain things. These beliefs are often formed early in life, shaped by our experiences, upbringing, and societal expectations. For example, if you were told as a child that you weren't good at math, you may have developed the belief that you'll never be able to succeed in math-related subjects, even as an adult. Limiting beliefs can also stem from past failures. If you've tried something before and failed, you might convince yourself that you're destined to fail again. The brain has a tendency to protect us from discomfort, so it will avoid situations where failure seems likely. Unfortunately, this protective mechanism often keeps us stuck in our comfort zones, preventing us from taking the necessary risks to grow and succeed. Examples of fear-based decision-making. We see fear-based decision-making everywhere. Take, for example, the story of someone who dreams of starting their own business. They have a brilliant idea, a clear plan, and the skills to execute it. But instead of taking the plunge, they hesitate. What if it fails? What if they go bankrupt? What if people laugh at them? These fears, while understandable, are rooted in the belief that failure is worse than inaction. In reality, the greatest failure is often not trying at all. Another example can be found in athletes who choke under pressure. They have trained for years, mastered their craft, and prepared for this moment, but when the spotlight is on them, self-doubt creeps in. They start to question their abilities, second-guess their decisions, and as a result, they underperform. The fear of failure has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Transition to mindset shift. The good news is that fear and self-doubt are not permanent states. They can be overcome with the right mindset. The first step is recognizing that these thoughts and feelings are not facts. They are simply mental constructs that we can challenge and change. By taming our thoughts, we can begin to shift from a fear-based mindset to one that embraces possibility and growth. The power of mindset, shifting from limitation to possibility. Fixed versus growth mindset. At the heart of overcoming fear and self-doubt is the concept of mindset. Psychologist Carol Dweck introduced the idea of the fixed mindset versus the growth mindset. A fixed mindset is the belief that our abilities, talents, and intelligence are set in stone. People with a fixed mindset tend to avoid challenges because they fear failure. They believe that if they fail, it's a reflection of their inherent limitations, so they avoid situations where their abilities might be tested. On the other hand, a growth mindset is the belief that our abilities can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. People with a growth mindset see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than as threats. They understand that failure is not a reflection of their worth, but a necessary part of the learning process. When we operate from a fixed mindset, we are more likely to be paralyzed by fear and self-doubt. But when we adopt a growth mindset, we open ourselves up to possibilities. We understand that the things we think we cannot do today may become achievable tomorrow with enough effort and perseverance. Cognitive behavioral strategies to reframe negative thoughts. One of the most effective ways to shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset is through cognitive behavioral strategies. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, teaches us to recognize and challenge our automatic negative thoughts, ANTs, those knee-jerk reactions that tell us we can't do something. For example, let's say you're about to give a presentation, and the thought pops into your head, I'm going to mess this up. Everyone will see how nervous I am. This is a classic ANT. The first step in challenging this thought is to ask yourself, is this thought based on fact, or is it just fear talking? More often than not, it's fear. Once you've identified the thought as irrational, you can replace it with a more empowering one, such as, I've prepared for this. I may feel nervous, but I'm capable of delivering this presentation successfully. Practical exercises like visualization, positive self-talk, and reframing failure as a learning opportunity can help retrain your brain to think more positively and confidently. Visualization is particularly powerful because the brain doesn't always distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. By visualizing yourself succeeding in a situation, you can reduce fear and build confidence before you even attempt the task. The role of perseverance and grit. Another key component of the growth mindset is perseverance. Angela Duckworth's research on grit shows that the most successful people are not necessarily the most talented, but the most persistent. Grit is the ability to keep going even when things get tough, to push through obstacles and setbacks without giving up. Perseverance is essential when tackling something you think you cannot do. The path to success is rarely smooth, and you will encounter failures along the way. But the difference between those who succeed and those who don't is not the absence of failure, it's the willingness to keep trying, to learn from mistakes, and to improve. Practical strategies to tame your thoughts. Self-awareness, recognizing limiting thoughts. The first step in taming your thoughts is becoming aware of them. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. Self-awareness is the foundation of personal growth. It involves paying attention to your inner dialogue and recognizing when fear or self-doubt is influencing your decisions. Mindfulness is a powerful tool for developing self-awareness. When you practice mindfulness, you become more attuned to your thoughts and emotions without judging them. You learn to observe your mind from a distance, recognizing limiting thoughts for what they are, temporary and changeable. Techniques like meditation, journaling, and self-reflection can help you cultivate mindfulness. For example, journaling allows you to track patterns in your thinking. Over time, you may notice that certain situations trigger negative thoughts more frequently. Once you've identified these patterns, you can begin to challenge and change them. Visualization and mental rehearsal. Visualization is another effective strategy for taming your thoughts. Athletes and performers have used mental rehearsal for decades to improve their performance. The idea is simple. By mentally rehearsing a successful outcome, you prepare your brain and body to achieve that outcome in real life. When you visualize yourself succeeding at something you think you cannot do, you reduce the fear and anxiety associated with it. You create a mental blueprint for success, which makes the actual task feel more familiar and less intimidating. For example, if you're preparing for a public speaking event, take time each day to visualize yourself standing confidently on stage, delivering your speech with ease, and receiving positive feedback from the audience. The more vividly you can imagine this scenario, the more your brain will believe that it's possible. Facing fear through incremental steps. One of the reasons fear feels so overwhelming is that we often focus on the enormity of the task ahead. When faced with something that seems impossible, it's easy to become paralyzed by the sheer scale of what needs to be done. But breaking down large goals into smaller, manageable steps can make the process much less daunting. Imagine you're preparing to run a marathon, but you've never run more than a mile. If you focus on the entire 26.2 miles, the goal may feel impossible. But if you break it down into smaller milestones, running 3 miles, then 5, then 10, the task becomes more achievable. Each small victory builds confidence and reduces fear, making the ultimate goal feel less intimidating. This incremental approach applies to any challenge, whether it's launching a business, writing a book, or learning a new skill. Start small, celebrate progress, and build momentum over time. The importance of support systems. No one overcomes fear and self-doubt alone. Having a strong support system can make all the difference when you're facing a challenge that feels impossible. Surrounding yourself with positive, encouraging people, whether friends, family, mentors, or colleagues, can provide the motivation and reassurance you need to keep going. Mentors, in particular, play a crucial role in helping you see beyond your limiting beliefs. They've often been where you are, faced similar fears, and come out the other side. Their guidance and perspective can help you navigate your own doubts and take the necessary steps toward success. Accountability partners can also help keep you on track. When you share your goals with someone else, you create a sense of responsibility to follow through. Knowing that someone else is invested in your progress can provide the extra push you need to overcome fear and take action. Embracing failure as a tool for growth. One of the biggest reasons we fear taking action is the fear of failure. But failure is not something to be avoided, it's something to be embraced. Failure is a natural part of the learning process. Every successful person has failed multiple times along the way. The key is not to avoid failure, but to learn from it. When you redefine failure as an opportunity for growth, it loses its power to paralyze you. Instead of seeing failure as a reflection of your limitations, you begin to see it as a stepping stone toward success. Take, for example, Thomas Edison's famous quote about inventing the light bulb, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Edison's perseverance in the face of repeated failures ultimately led to one of the most important inventions in history. His ability to embrace failure as part of the process allowed him to achieve what others thought was impossible. The power of action. Transforming thought into reality. The need for courageous action. While taming your thoughts is essential, it's not enough on its own. At some point, you must take action. Courageous action is the bridge between thought and reality. You can visualize success, challenge limiting beliefs, and develop a growth mindset, but without action, nothing changes. Courageous action means taking that first step, even when you're afraid. It means putting yourself out there, knowing that you might fail, but being willing to try anyway. The good news is that action creates momentum. Once you take the first step, the next step becomes easier, and before you know it, you've made more progress than you ever thought possible. Overcoming the fear of uncertainty. One of the biggest obstacles to taking action is the fear of uncertainty. We like to have control over our lives, and the unknown can feel threatening. But uncertainty is an inevitable part of any worthwhile endeavor. The most rewarding experiences in life often come from stepping into the unknown. Instead of fearing uncertainty, try to embrace it as a source of excitement and growth. Every time you face the unknown, you're expanding your comfort zone and opening yourself up to new possibilities. While uncertainty can be uncomfortable, it's also where innovation and transformation happen. Consider the story of explorers who set sail into uncharted waters. They had no guarantee of success, no certainty of what they would find. But their willingness to embrace uncertainty led to the discovery of new worlds and changed the course of history. The same principle applies to your personal journey. The unknown is where your greatest potential lies. The ripple effect of courage. When you do the thing you think you cannot do, the impact extends beyond yourself. Courage is contagious. Your bold actions can inspire others to confront their own fears and pursue their dreams. This ripple effect can create a positive impact on your community, your workplace, and even the world. Consider the civil rights movement. It began with a few courageous individuals who dared to challenge an unjust system. Their bravery inspired others to join the cause, and together, they changed the course of history. Each act of courage, no matter how small, contributes to a larger wave of positive change. Let us wind up this session with a quick recap, taming your thoughts to achieve the impossible. As we come to the end of this session, let's reflect on the key lessons we've discussed today. Fear and self-doubt are natural, but they don't have to control us. By understanding the nature of fear, recognizing limiting beliefs, and adopting a growth mindset, we can begin to tame our thoughts. With practical strategies like visualization, incremental progress, and strong support systems, we can confront the things we think we cannot do and take action with courage. Eleanor Roosevelt's words, "You must do the thing you think you cannot do," challenge us to push past our fears and embrace the possibilities that lie beyond them. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is the belief that you can't have it. But as we've seen today, that belief can be changed. You are more capable, more resilient, and more powerful than you realize. So, I leave you with this challenge: identify one thing in your life that you think you cannot do. It could be starting a business, pursuing a creative passion, or even having a difficult conversation. Whatever it is, take the first step toward it today. Tame your thoughts, confront your fears, and take action. Because once you do, you'll realize that the impossible is not as far out of reach as you once thought. If you found value in our content, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the like button. Thank you.